Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's time again for this week's unfiltered news from the reality zone, where political correctness is not spoken here. Compiled by G.Edward, the man who wrote the book Creature from Jekyll Island, about the banksters and how they got their control over our country and now apparently spread to the world. And here is the headlines for July 21st through the 27th. 2012. And this week's comic strip is supposed to be a pun on what ABC said when the shooting first happened in Colorado, so it's in poor taste in its own way. It's done by, I almost can make out the name up here. That's a .com where they do these political and otherwise other comic strip type comments, political comic strips. And he says, "So, when did you join the Tea Party?" Talking to the shooter, James Holmes, and as the Joker, or actually it's probably the Joker. See, that's the whole thing. That's something I wanted to bring up here. This is poor taste. ABC News was responsible. They had to retract that after they said it. You know what's very funny is that James Holmes said he was the Joker and everything, and all this stuff all his time, and look at the picture of him. He's got red hair. Why he dyed it red, I do not know. Everyone knows the Joker has green hair. He had green hair for a reason. He fell into a toxic vat at a factory and was contaminated, and it made him mad and changed the smile on his face and everything. But never mind. I guess facts are not what he was after, being an MK Ultra plant, which I'm pretty sure that's what he was. It's too many things. People saying there's several people shooting. The gas canisters came from two different directions, so he had an accomplice, at least one. Go figure. There's different things that happened that this doesn't make any sense. And this is the headlines for this week. UK Ministry of Defence has placed surface-to-air missiles on London's apartment rooftops for security during the Olympic Games. Residents sued but lost their case, setting a precedent for quartering the military on private property and making civilians a target of militarization in their homes. InfoWars, July 27th. Yes, they've lost their kamikaze, or the I'll think of it. Give me a moment. Next headline. In the second quarter, America's added $274.3 billion in debt, while adding only a $117.6 billion in gross domestic product, that is, GDP. That means debt was added at 2.5 times the rate of new GDP. And don't forget that GDP includes government spending, so real domestic production is even less than the numbers indicated. How much longer can America survive its leaders? Zero Hedge, July 27th. I mean, how long? If we're spending more money than the whole country's bringing in, how can we survive? We're going down the tubes, and they're doing it. I think they're just going for broke. And they're using Wall Street and the banksters to do it. And the banksters and Wall Street are blackmailing and buying off our politicians, apparently. We need to keep track of everybody that votes in Congress and the Senate on what they vote on, if it's for or against our country, and make a list and check it twice. And then when it comes time for election, fire them and put somebody in there new blood. You need new blood in there. We got too many ancients in there that are good old boys on both sides. I just call them the Republicrats because that's what they are. They're Republicans and Democrats on the same coin. You just turn one over as an elephant and the other side's a jackass. So you go figure. We need the new separate thing, a picture of liberty and America and Constitution. Mom and apple pie and baseball. I mean, really, it's not making any sense. This is nuts, and they're getting away with it. And apparently we're not speaking loud enough, or we're just not demanding enough, or we're not doing Occupy Washington. I guess we're going to just all have to go to Washington. A couple hundred million people show up at Washington. I think they're going to be afraid and start doing what they're told. Really, they would. The sheer number of people would terrify them to the bone and make them do the right thing. Oh, man. Text of the UN Small Arms Treaty was leaked and confirms that this is aimed squarely at disarming American citizens. Obama is eager to sign it, and pressure is being put on the Senate for quick ratification. InfoWars, July 26. This is madness. We're letting a foreign entity, a foreign country, a group of people, the UN, United Nations, which are basically, United Nations is no more now than a bunch of criminals. They're a bunch of tyrants, communists, socialists, and despots, all grouped together. And they all want to bring America down. And they got to take our guns away to do it. And they're now dictating law over our country, a foreign entity. The Constitution strictly says that anyone caught doing that in our government especially should be arrested immediately, tried, and, well, whatever we do to treasonous. About actually saying it. Everyone should know. But that UN Small Treaties Arms is a foreigner making law over our country. And that's why we got to get the UN out of the U.S. That's all there is to it. It's madness to allow them to do that. Absolute madness. 2 more antidepressant drugs found to be deadly dangerous is citalopram and Cipralex are linked to heart problems and can cause sudden death, but regulators have failed to warn the public of this danger. Doctors in the UK have lowered dosage levels, but it is unknown if that will make any difference. The damage will still be done no matter what level. Apparently it does damage at any level. It's poison. Z News posted July 26, just like Prozac. It's a fluoride derivative, so you can imagine. A memorable article. Believers in global warming are saying the recent 4-day ice melt in Greenland is unprecedented and therefore evidence of global warming. Oh, really? Why do you think they used to call that Greenland at one time? And don't give me that. It was to throw people off and everything. Oh, no. It used to be covered in green and didn't have no ice on it because the Earth was at a different tilt. Like it's right now. It's moving over 40 miles a year. And some say it's 80 miles a year now, moving towards Siberia. The Earth is tilting away. The North is changing. So, of course, Greenland's going to thaw. I mean, that's all there is to it. And you're going to expect colder weather in Siberia and into northern Europe towards England and stuff. It's probably going to start feeling colder weather from the backside of it because it's moving towards them from the east. The only thing unprecedented is the ability to use satellites to detect it. What was measured was reflectivity of water on the surface of the ice that in some cases is thousands of feet deep. Surface ice melt happens every year as soon as freezing temperatures return. The surface water will return to ice and so-called global warming will be over. Do not expect mainstream media to report it. Wired, July 26. And that's another thing. They're using satellites for this and they're showing the melt. But it's water. It could be an inch thick of water melt on top of the ice. And it would pick up like that. But also it's known that the North Pole is moving northwestward from where it used to be. And therefore it's changing where Iceland is. And that's probably why Iceland has a thorough overall melt on top of the ice. But it's not, it's like it said, it's several thousands of feet deep of ice. So it's not going to just melt overnight. Anyways, I mean, that's just ridiculous. It's going to take years for it to melt, hundreds. Man. What people will do to convince other people who are gullible that take money so they can take money out of their pocket and put it in theirs. You know, Al Gore's carbon scam. That's right, CO2 is the most deadliest gas in the world. I thought carbon monoxide was more dangerous. I know, you hear about people dying in their homes from carbon monoxide leaks every winter. Oh well, never mind. Al Gore made the internet, don't you know? At least he'll tell you that if you ask him. New study reveals vitamin D possesses amazing anti-cancer properties. Natural News, July 26. Yes, and you can take vitamin D3, which is like liquid sunshine in its own thing. It's basically the same chemical that your body produces from sunlight. So vitamin D3 is actually better. The 10th Amendment Center provides model legislation, the Constitution Tender Act, that would end the Fed whether Congress wants to or not. States could introduce silver and gold as competing currency and require government fees to be paid in this money instead of Federal Reserve notes. TAC, July 26, and it would work. We could start replacing the Federal Reserve's worthless paper. This might as well be wallpaper. That's what they did with the mark from Germany. It got so bad that they were taking wheelbarrows in of it to buy a loaf of bread. That's how bad the money got in Germany before the end of World War II. The marks went kaput because they started printing it, overprinting the money, so there was nothing, there's nothing backing it to begin with, and so that's just paper. People start realizing, hey, this is just paper with some funny ink on, ink and letters and numbers on it and stuff, and it's not anything. I mean, I can take silver and make things out of it that are valuable, like computers and things, or gold to make things into computers and things, and iPad and all these other devices that we rely on in our daily lives. What can you do with the piece of paper? Except, what? Wipe your butt and put it on the wall? Maybe use it to start a fire? I don't really think there's any use for it. I mean, shoot, it's probably make clothes out of it, sew them together, because they are supposed to be cotton fabric in there. It might hold up. I know they hold up through a washing machine a couple of times before the ink washes off and they fade. Anyways, getting off subject there. Let's go into the next headline. U.S. Ron Paul's bill for a complete audit of the Federal Reserve passed the House, 327 yeas and 98 nays. It will meet powerful opposition in the Senate. Reason, July 25th. And of course, it's gonna be like, we can't have that. We can't audit the Fed. We can't know where that money's hidden. No. See, the Fed tried to say that we're audited already. You know how many pencils and desks we have and stuff like that? And it's like, no. We want to know where all the money you printed up is gone. Not, here, but over there and over there in foreign countries and stuff. We want to know those figures. But, to get Bernanke to say anything, he'll sit there and walk or beat around the bush and never give you a straight answer, like he did when he was being questioned. Never seen a guy who could miss away from the question so bad as him. It's unreal. The guy's a crook. Los Angeles City Council has banned pot dispensaries, even though the California voters approved of medical marijuana in 1996. Recently, a federal appeals court said that federal drug laws pre-exempt local municipalities from allowing pot clinics, even though the federal government has no constitutional authority in such matters. Daily Mail, July 25th. The federal government has no power because the 10th Amendment says they can't do that. The state's rights. The state has rights supersedes the federal, unfortunately. This is why you had different states with different laws, where if you didn't like the laws in one state, you could move to another and not have, like, the federal government centralize a law over all states, so you couldn't get away from it. That's the reason each state had their power to have their own. I mean, it's the federal government gone rogue, period. Another article of interest in collection. Mexico. Chihuahua state officials says the CIA controls the drug trade and that thousands of people in the war on drugs would be out of work if the drug problem were solved. So it continues forever. Alcazar, July 24th. And that's exactly what it is. They can't stop it down there because they're making too much money off of it, and people are making money off of it. That's why if they can go sell it to some other state and we'll grow our own here and legalize it. Legalize the drugs that they have down there. And that way we'll put them out of business then. They'll have to find other work to do. Besides growing drugs and selling them up here for a high expensive price when they should be just about free if you could grow your own, which you should be allowed to. Marijuana is a medical plant in its own way. It has so many uses. Not only does it give you a nice time and a buzz and makes you antidepressed or takes the depression away from you, it's safer than all the antidepressants. I mean, there's words that maybe, that's what happened to James Holmes, the Colorado shooter. He was on a couple of depressants and they had a reaction and made him go nuts. That was one thing that was talked about. I mean, antidepressants are dangerous. They make mothers cut their babies' arms off and drown their kids in their car. I mean, it's just, you snap on them because no one knows if the serotonin levels can be controlled because they vary so much. So how you know if this drug is actually working at all? It's not like to me. It's a placebo-type dangerous drug. It's basically a placebo. It really doesn't do anything. You just think it does, except make you go nuts. And the pharmaceutical company makes billions off of it, with a B, every year. The video. Surveillance video shows how to stop a massacre in 11 seconds. Natural News, July 23rd. And you can stop it. Just have everyone armed. Or at least a few people, responsible people. I'm saying, responsible citizens, population that's armed. I mean, there was a guy in Utah I guess it was just last night or so at a store in Utah. Can't think of it now. It's a Save-On, I think. This guy went in, bought a knife, went outside, and waited for the customers to come out of the door and start stabbing them. He got 3 or 4 people before this guy saw what was happening, came up and pulled his gun and said, "Drop the knife or I'm going to shoot you." And the guy dropped the knife, and then immediately the Save-On employees, I guess it was Save-On, I'll have to look it up, jumped the man, held him until the police got there. And the police are calling him a hero, and all the people that didn't get stabbed called him a hero, and even the people said, "Thank you for stopping this man. He could have killed many more." He didn't actually kill. I don't think he killed anyone. One guy got a stomach wound in the gut, a gut wound. Another one, I think, got stabbed in the head. I think he's the most critical. Another person was trying to deflect the blade with his arms and got gashes all over his arms from the knife. And that's about what happened with that story. But that's just, this is why we got to legalize guns for responsible citizens to carry. So the criminals won't think they won't act like wolves and think that we're a bunch of sheep for the taking. It's just upsetting. It's really upsetting that they just want more and more gun control, because it's not going to do anything to save the civilian. It just takes the weapons from the responsible populace, and the criminal is the only one that has them, along with the rogue government and the rogue police. Anyway, Syria's foreign minister acknowledges that they have chemical weapons and are willing to use them against foreign aggressors, but vow they will never be used inside Syria against their own rebels. New York Times, July 23rd. See, there's a problem with that is they're allowed to have these chemical weapons to use on an invading force. Now, Syria knows this, and a lot of other countries around there know this, that these rebels are nothing more than mercenaries. They're paid mercenaries, because they run away when it gets too dangerous for them. They run away because a mercenary can't spend his paycheck if he's in the ground in a coffin, and so he can't cash his paycheck. So, and if these are true rebels, they'd be fighting to the death to get the power back of their country. They wouldn't run and fight and then when they're overwhelmed run away. I mean, that just brings up Monty Python. Run away, run away. That's because they're mercenaries. When people wake up to that, it's going to shock and make them mad at the governments that are involved in pushing a war in Syria. Because they know if they get Syria, they can go in and take Iran, who hasn't attacked any country in 200 years. They have defended their country, but never attacked in 200 years. That's something to keep in mind with Iran. And I'm not a supporter of Iran, nor a supporter of Syria, but I can see when crooks are going after crooks, basically. Bad men are going after bad men. And they're doing it for reasons of taking things from them. Their mineral wealth, their oil, their anything that they got of value that they want. Anyways, U.S., in a rare admission that has gone almost completely unreported, the Director of the National Intelligence has admitted that the National Security Agency violated the U.S. Constitution by spying on American citizens and monitoring their communications. InfoWars, July 23rd. And they're the same people that said that you can't film them, but they can sit and monitor and watch you. I just watched a movie again that just... It's this bizarre movie. It's called Scanner Darkly. If you ever get a chance to watch it, it's a very bizarre movie. And it has an ending about the drug war and what's really behind it. But if anyone's seen Scanner Darkly, it's a movie to see again. Haven't seen it in a while. InfoWars, July 23rd. New York Times admits that major news agencies allow the government to censor their quotes of public officials. American Dream, July 23rd. That's right, your MSM is being censored by the government. The government censors all the news. So whatever you're seeing on the talking heads has been censored. They have CIA people on CNN that sit there and go through all that stuff that's written for broadcast. And they go through and change things. It's like 1984, where they go through in the Department of Truth, and they just take out everything that the government doesn't like. It's the same thing, exactly. I mean, we're living 1984, if you know it or not, in just a high-tech way, more technical than the story was written. Video. Carroll County, Maryland. County Commissioner Richard Rothschild explains his program to abolish the UN Agenda 21 from local government. That is a template for what you can do to get rid of it in your community. Morph City, July 23rd. And it's a good one to watch. You find out how to get rid of this Agenda 21, which is basically foreign property grabs. Take you off your property and make you a serve on your property, or worse. You don't never own property. It's just bad. It's bad that you... It's just... I mean, feudalism is feudalism. No matter how it's spelt, or looks, or acts. Feudalists are slaves. Anyone under the feudalist system. Study shows that the super rich are hiding 20 to 31 trillion in offshore tax havens because most of these people are highly placed in government or are closely connected to those who are. Governments will not track down these hidden fortunes. BBC, July 22nd. And that's governments. More than just the U.S. government. That's the British government. That's the Switzerland government. Any government that has rogue going on in it. Rogue governments of the world. Ones that have been bought and paid for by foreign interests or banksters. And Japan, Fukushima. Contractor forced workers to falsify their radiation readings. Yeah, and now they're all sick and dying. Russian television, July 22nd. It's a crime what's going on over there. The people in Japan are getting very, very upset about this. The marches on the government are getting larger and larger, and they're demanding to shut down the nuclear power plants. They're not safe. They're all sitting on fault lines, waiting for an incident. And we're already getting radiation over here in the United States and around the northern hemisphere, basically, from Fukushima. Because there's 4 Chernobyls going on. Not just one, and one was bad enough. 2 million people or so or more have died from Chernobyl, just around the European area where that happened. And if the Japanese don't do something about sealing these or getting out, they want to get the rods out. I can understand that, because they'll just keep eating through the earth and go down to the core, they say, because the reaction just keeps going and going and going. But it's just insanity. They let something, money junkies build everything, and they took shortcuts, and that's what you get. You get Fukushima. There was a plant, can't remember the name offhand, but the guy that was there, one of the engineers, said, I need this wall 20 feet taller than it is. And he fought tooth and nail to get that wall built 20 feet taller. You know, that nuclear plant was not harmed by the tsunami. It was the only one that wasn't harmed. And it was because the wall was 20 feet higher. It said it reached crest less than a foot to crest. And it did its job. And the money junkies that were running the other ones didn't have someone like that telling them, hey, you can't have that wall that short and expect a tsunami not to go over it. Okay, there's more criminals. Pharmaceutical manufacturers are allowed to dump drugs into sewer systems, even though the drugs are not completely removed by the water purification process. It's like you're being drugged if you're drinking city waters. And cities that are downstream from drug manufacturing facilities, citizens are getting these drugs in their tap water. That's right. You're taking prescription drugs if you want to or not. Natural Society, July 22nd. Video, Anaheim, California. More disturbing news of apparent police brutality. Police killed an unarmed man who was running away from them. This sparked protests by locals, which was met by police firing rubber bullets, just bullets, covered in rubber, into the crowd and unleashing attack dogs. YouTube, July 22nd. You can watch the video and see the mayhem that broke out as soon as people realized these guys were just rogue police officers. They just all started to yell at them and stuff, and then the police just start pulling their guns out and going, okay, okay, here we go. It's pretty bad. Pretty bad. We're living in sorry times. Bad times. Scientists have been dumping tons of iron dust into the Antarctic Ocean to fertilize carbon-absorbing plankton. The goal is to reduce carbon dioxide that supposedly would reduce global warming, which is mythical. The company of that forefront of this effort is hoping for huge profits from selling carbon credits to manufacturing companies. Many scientists are concerned over the unknown and possibly devastating consequences of tinkering with the balance of nature. Natural Society, July 21st. These creatures are determined to throw us into an ice age. The only reason we came out of the last ice age is a big chunk of ice broke off of the South Pole, caused a deluge over the entire planet, and ended the ice age. About 14,000 years ago. About the time they talk about the floods of Noah. And then reported worldwide, in every country, they have a story of the Great Flood. And they've never been in contact with each other. But they all have it in their history. California state parks hid $54 million in secret funds kept off the books while claiming budget shortfalls that threatened to close 70 parks. Ruth Coleman, state parks director, has resigned over the scandal. Washington Post, July 21st. Video. Colorado theater shooting witness says he believes James Holmes did not act alone because a gas canister was on the opposite side of the room and someone had to open the side door for him to enter. Well, they're saying they were coming from both directions, as other reports. Both sides of the theater. So, sounds to me that there was others involved. And he just sat out there in his car. Apparently, he probably wasn't even involved in this. They probably just drugged him up, and then, and dressed him and drugged him up. Because the people didn't even say they couldn't see this guy and what he had on. He was so armored. They said they thought it was police and armored police. Darth Vader's police. And it came in there, and they're reporting more than one of those. So, I'm starting to doubt their story. I'm thinking MK Ultra. I mean, he sat out there in his car and waited for the police to come by and collect him. And then he apparently was out of it, drugged up on something. Could have been anything. Some say it was scopulin, hydrobromide or something, your mind control drug that he may have been on. And it doesn't show up very easily. Spain. Over 1 million people protest in 80 cities organized by unions and government workers who oppose the new $80 billion austerity plan that will reduce their wages and benefits. Russian television, 21st July. U.S. The federal government is developing a new type of drone that is super quiet, so no one will know they are being spied upon. They are calling it the Great Horned Owl Program. Bohemian Grove must have been on this, based on the fact that owls are noted for their quiet stealth in search of prey. Wired, July 21st. That was just a joke. Bohemian Grove. Video. The FDA spied on its own scientists who were preparing to blow the whistle on the agency's failure to warn the public about the dangers from cancer scanners that had FDA approval. The FDA tried to criminally prosecute these scientists. YouTube, July 21st. That's right. The dangers of the body scanners. And the ones now they got in trucks that drive around and x-ray you in your car. Basically, it looks like X-ray to me. They're seeing right through metal and everything. Got to be very powerful. I'm telling you. The U.S. is partnering with Mexico to promote increased distribution of food stamps to Mexican Americans, Mexican citizens working in the U.S. and the migrant communities. Daily Caller, July 21st. That's right. They are more important than the average citizen. We were born here. The Star, one article or collection, new study confirms that fluoride lowers IQ. Do they put it in our water supply in spite of that or because of that? NIH posted July 21st. U.S. evidence and circumstances in the Colorado shooting massacre raises questions about the official explanation. Was it a mere coincidence that this happened precisely when there is a big push for the Senate to ratify the UN gun control treaty? I think so. News with Views, July 24th. Video. Age of Terror documentary explores the roots and expansion of modern terrorism, which began with the Egrom Zionist masterminded by Menachem Begin, I guess. I'm not going to get that right. Who dressed as Arabs and blew up the King David Hotel in protest of British rule. This film includes interviews with terrorists who always consider themselves as freedom fighters. YouTube, July 24th. Obama administration has prosecuted whistleblowers and journalists for leaking evidence of high-level wrongdoings within the government, but has itself perpetuated serious leaks of classified information while no prosecution is ever considered. And some leaks of classified information are a horrendous crime when they embarrass or undermine those in power, but are noble and necessary when done to bolster themselves or them. So long. July 24th. Video. Health Canada, a federal agency, has removed 20,000 safe and effective natural health products from the sale to the public. It also promotes prescription drugs that have 1 in 6 chance of harming or killing you. These TV commercials produced by Natural Health Freedom Canada tell the story. YouTube, July 21st. And it's amazing. I'm glad they passed that law in the U.S. where they had to tell you the side effects of these drugs that they're selling, which was great because I watched commercials and go, my God, it's worse than the symptom. You got bronchitis? Well, take this, and then you'll have headaches, possible stroke, lost of appetite. I mean, this goes on and on and on. You're going, I think I'll just keep the bronchitis. It's nuts. Here's an amazing video of a motorcyclist. Motorcyclist Robbie Madison achieves the impossible by leaping to the ledge of the Arc de Triomphe at the Paris Las Vegas. He was paid $2 million but says he would not do it again for any amount. He must have terrified the heck out of him. And here's the great photo for the week. You can check this out, which is kind of neat. That would be kind of weird to see the bird come right down and land on you while you're holding the camera. There's humor for this week. You get to check the humor out. Oh, I love this. Losing your teeth in 3, 2, 1. Boxster cat. Leash and mouth. Ooh, that's until next time, it's a Spellbinder thing. Be good at it, and have a wonderful weekend. And keep your eyes on the news and don't get the blues. Good day.